There is an ocean of everything you want: success, power, and the most satisfying relationships. It's all available and waiting for you. This is The Zone of Action with your host, Gerald Action Jackson.
Today, the subject of this podcast is you could be rich or you could be famous. You could be rich or you could be famous. Why quiet wealth wins every time? We live in a world where being known seems to be the ultimate goal. The allure of fame is powerful. Millions of followers, bright lights, invitations to exclusive events, and everyone knowing your name. But let's take a closer look. What's the real cost of fame? And is it worth more than wealth? If someone gave you the choice between being rich or being famous, which would you choose? Most people might instinctively say both, but the reality is they rarely go hand in hand. The people who own the biggest homes, drive the nicest cars, and take month-long vacations are often the people you've never heard of. That's because real wealth doesn't need applause. Real wealth doesn't seek attention. Real wealth just works silently, steadily, and securely. As someone who has worked in entertainment and business, I've seen the glamour of fame and the grace of quiet success. And I'll tell you this, 9 times out of 10, I'd take quiet wealth over noisy fame. Here's why. The problem with fame. Let's get this out of the way. Fame can be intoxicating. You walk into a room and people know your name. You post a picture and thousands of people react. You speak your mind and the world listens. But here's the catch. You don't own your life anymore. Everything you do is scrutinized. Every word is dissected. Every mistake is magnified. Fame is a spotlight that never turns off, and over time, it burns. When you're famous, people assume things about you. They assume you're rich, happy, successful, and invincible. But the truth, many celebrities are none of those things. In fact, the pressure to maintain a public persona often leads to anxiety, burnout, and self-doubt. You can't be yourself because the world has already decided who they want you to be, when the world wants you to fail. One of the darker sides of fame is this: the world builds you up just to tear you down. There's something in our culture that enjoys watching people rise and then eagerly waits for them to fall. The more famous you become, the more people line up to challenge your success, your image, and your legacy. They dig into your past, question your intentions, and look for reasons to discredit you. And then there are those who weaponize the legal system. People who sue celebrities not because they've been wronged, but because they know it's cheaper for a public figure to settle than to fight. I work closely with a company that deals with this reality regularly. Every time someone files a lawsuit, legitimate or not, it costs them at least $1,100 an hour just in legal fees. That means if someone sues a famous person for $100,000 and they know the lawsuit is baseless, the legal advice might still be just pay it and move on. It's the cost of being in the spotlight. And that, my friend, is expensive. The myth of social media success. Today's version of fame often starts on social media. Influencers with large followings can appear to be successful, living extravagant lives in front of the camera. But what you see is often carefully curated and sometimes downright fake. I've seen people rent exotic cars just for photo shoots. I've seen people borrow designer clothes or use filters to create a life they're not actually living. And I've met influencers who, despite their million followers, can't afford their rent. Fame doesn't always mean money. Attention doesn't equal income. Visibility doesn't automatically translate to value. So why are so many people chasing fame instead of building wealth? Because it looks easier. It's flashier. It feels more immediate, but the price is high. and the return is not guaranteed. Wealth is quiet, and that's its power. Now let's talk about the other side of the equation, wealth. True wealth doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. Wealthy people often blend in. You might be sitting next to a millionaire at a coffee shop or walking past one at the grocery store. No flashing lights, no headlines, just smart decisions made consistently over time. Wealth gives you freedom. It gives you options. It gives you privacy. It gives you control. And most importantly, wealth allows you to move through the world on your own terms. The magic of passive income. One of the defining features of wealth is that it's not tied to your time. Rich people, true rich people, don't work for every dollar they make. Their money works for them. That's called passive income. They have investments that pay dividends. They own property that brings in rent every month. They hold royalties from intellectual property. They might own shares in a business that runs without them ever being there. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning and you've already made money in your sleep. No alarm clocks, no deadlines, no manager calling you in for a meeting, just peace, time, and options. That's the life most people really want. Not a million likes on a post, not being recognized in public, just the freedom to live well, take care of your loved ones, and create a legacy. The difference between rich and wealthy. Let me pause for a second and define what I mean by rich. Being rich means you have money. You might make a great salary, drive a nice car, and live in a beautiful home. But if your income stops, your lifestyle collapses. Being wealthy means you have assets. It means you can step away from work, maybe even permanently, and your money keeps flowing in. You don't just have cash, you have freedom. Wealth is when you don't have to ask anyone's permission to live your life. You can buy the plane ticket, start the business, take the sabbatical, or invest in the dream without wondering if you can afford it. That's the goal. Careers that require fame and those that don't. Now, let's be clear. There are some career paths that require you to be well known. If you're a singer, actor, author, speaker, or influencer, building a brand is part of the game. You need the visibility to open doors and create opportunities. But that visibility should be managed carefully and monetized smartly. For most people, though, there are paths to wealth that don't require the spotlight. Owning businesses, investing in real estate, licensing products, franchising, e-commerce and stocks, private lending. These are just a few ways people build multi-million-dollar lives behind the scenes. And the best part? No one's counting your mistakes, watching your every move, or waiting for you to mess up. You're free to win. Quietly. Fame is performance. Wealth is peace. This is the part people don't always understand. What you see isn't always what's real. Many public figures are playing a role. The person you see on TV or social media might be a version of themselves, but often it's a character. It's branding. It's storytelling. Meanwhile, the person you don't see, the one you've never heard of, is often the one with the real money, the real freedom, and the real peace. If you have to choose between performance and peace, I hope you choose peace. What's your end game? Ask yourself this. What do you really want? Do you want applause or ownership? Do you want attention or assets? Do you want likes or legacy? Too many people get caught up chasing fame because they think that's what success looks like. But if you dig a little deeper, you'll realize that success is living life on your terms. It's waking up happy. It's having time for the people you love. It's having the resources to give back, take care of your health, and leave something behind. Fame can't give you that, but wealth can. So what should you do? Let me leave you with some practical advice. Focus on ownership. Own your time, your content, your business, your ideas. Build multiple streams of income. Don't rely on one paycheck. Invest early and often. Compound interest is one of the greatest tools for building wealth. Stay off the radar. Not everyone needs to know your moves. Let your results speak. Protect your peace. Not everything requires a response or an explanation. Be consistent, not flashy. Flash gets attention. Consistency builds empires. Choose legacy over likes. You're here to make a difference, not just noise. Play the quiet game. Here's the truth that few will tell you. The loudest person in the room often has the least. The one bragging the most is usually the most insecure. But the one who moves in silence, who builds without boasting, who invests instead of impresses, that's the one winning. You don't need to be famous to be fulfilled. You don't need to be recognized to be respected. You don't need followers to build a future. Get wealthy, stay grounded, and move quietly. You got this. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter, JEROLDJAX. On Facebook, Gerald, Action Jackson, and Zone of Action. Check out the website, GeraldJackson.com. Happiness starts with you, not with your relationship, not with your job, not with your money, but with you in the zone of action.